Stuck at home during the pandemic and with disposable income a bit higher with nowhere to spend it, many of us looked at our surroundings and decided to make some changes. Carmelo Lipsi from MPAC joins us. Carmelo, 2020 turned out to be a boom year for residential construction.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw across the province was that there was a 9% increase in residential permits. And when I looked at it specifically to home improvement permits, those were up 15%.
And that's basically what we're looking at is people were able to stop, pause, take a look at their homes and had a little bit of extra money to spend. And that's what you attribute this big boost to?
When you looked at comparing the permit activity over previous years, what we did see was, as you're saying, people spent more time at home. So your home now not only became the place to live, but it also became your office. It became your classroom, and it also became, the place that you would vacation to. So, what we're seeing with respect to kind of the activity is that, individuals are trying to find a way to make it work for them.
I've seen through the stats that you gave us that a lot of it is garages and sheds and things like that. So looking for that private space where people can spend some extra time alone.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I think, as I mentioned, you know, we're all trying to find a place, those of us that were able to work from home, trying to find that quiet space where you could actually sit and do a little bit of your work and hopefully try to do that as much as possible without being interrupted. So that was sort of a big area. So we saw increased numbers of addition and renovation permits. And that's probably attributed to, trying to find a way to make the home work for them, whether it's adding an addition, whether it's changing the configuration of your home, or, using things like pool or sheds and garages as a way to find that quiet space.
Going back 2 years ago, 2018, there was actually a drop in the number of permits. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's it exactly. So we saw some reduced numbers, and that's why when we started to look at some of this information and we saw the trend, we've seen that increase, and it's been a fairly consistent sort of increase when it comes especially to those home improvement type of permits. Almost consistently across the province, we've seen that increase in 2020.
Why the big numbers in centers like Brampton and Ottawa?
Yeah, that's interesting. Ottawa is sort of that pool construction capital of Canada. I mean, obviously, it's interesting to see that, again, as people are finding a way to spend time at home, but Ottawa saw, their pool permits double from what they would typically experience the last 3 or 4 years. Brampton, we saw a significant increase in the number of uh, uh, addition and renovation permits that were taking place.
Closer to home in the Golden Horseshoe area, St. Catharines was only outdone by Kitchener. Can you speculate as to why that would be the case?
Yeah, I mean, St. Catharines, with respect to kind of, other areas in the Niagara, the Niagara region, we've seen some pretty significant demand for residential properties. We've seen the value of properties in the Niagara area increase. We think it's probably partly attributed to just that. There's a high demand for residential homes in the St. Catharines area. So we're gonna, as I mentioned, we'll continue to monitor to see exactly why some of this is occurring, and we'll be able to probably have some updated information for 2021 later this year.
Carmelo, with MPAC's role in assessing property values across the province, will these renovations be affecting our assessments in the near future for municipal property tax purposes?
So MPAC's role is to assess, as you mentioned, is to assess all properties in Ontario, whether it be residential homes, your largest and most complex industrial properties, farms. So whenever there's a change that's made to a property, our role is to ensure that the information that we have is updated. So as a result of the changes that we're talking about here, so additions, renovations, swimming pools, which is a big ticket item in the St. Catharines area. If we go out and we assess it and there's an increase in value attributed to that, the homeowner will receive a notice in the mail identifying what that change in value will be for their property. And then that information is sent to the municipality that will determine the implications from a property tax perspective.
Carmelo, thanks very much for sharing this information with us today. It's great to meet you.
Thank you very much for having me.